We've always thought of caves as empty spaces inside the earth. Hollow, cold, still. But what if that's completely backwards? What if we're not the ones exploring a cave, but the ones being slowly, quietly taken in? There's a story that's been circulating in caving communities for years. Not a ghost story, not a legend passed down around campfires. Something more unsettling than that. Because the people who tell it aren't talking about what they saw. They're talking about what the cave did. Tonight, we're going inside. His name was Marcus Hale, 34 years old, a systems engineer by trade, a caver by obsession, the kind of person who spent his vacation days underground rather than on a beach. He had 12 years of experience behind him. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't the type to exaggerate. Everyone who knew him said the same thing. Marcus was the most level-headed person they'd ever met in the sport. That's what makes what happened so hard to explain. In early autumn, Marcus led a small team of 4 into a cave system in the rural mountains of the American Southeast, a region with limestone karst formations stretching for miles beneath the surface. The cave was known in the local caving community. It had been explored before, partially mapped, considered moderately technical but not dangerous for experienced cavers. They went in on a Saturday morning. The first few hours were unremarkable. The team descended through the cave's main passage, a wide corridor of pale gray limestone, cool and damp, with the familiar mineral smell of deep earth. Marcus noted the temperature. He noted the humidity. He noted the sound of water somewhere below them, distant and rhythmic, the way underground water always sounds. Everything was normal. Then, and Marcus was careful to record the exact time, at approximately 2 hours and 17 minutes into the descent, one of his team members, a woman named Claire, stopped walking. She didn't say anything at first. She just stood there with her hand pressed flat against the cave wall. The team waited. They thought maybe she'd heard something, a crack in the rock, a shift that might signal instability. But when she turned around, she didn't look alarmed. She looked confused. "It's warm," she said. Now, cave walls aren't warm. That's not how geology works. Caves maintain a relatively stable temperature year-round, roughly equal to the average annual surface temperature of the region. Cool, not cold. Consistent, inert. The rock doesn't generate heat. It doesn't absorb body heat and give it back. Marcus pressed his own hand to the wall. He wrote in his journal, in careful, measured language, that the surface felt, and he crossed out 2 words before landing on the right one, occupied. Not warm in the way a sun-heated stone is warm. Warm in the way a living thing is warm. He told himself it was nothing, geothermal variation, a quirk of the specific mineral composition of the limestone in that section. He was good at that, finding the rational explanation and parking his unease behind it. They kept moving. About 40 minutes later, the second thing happened. The team was navigating a narrowing passage, the kind where you turn sideways and exhale to fit through. Standard squeeze. Marcus had done hundreds of them. He went through first, then waited on the other side while the others followed. And then he looked back through the gap. He wrote that the passage looked different from the other side. Not dramatically, not in a way he could immediately articulate, but the shape seemed closer to the walls than he remembered. Tighter. He told himself it was the angle, the light, the way shadows play tricks in confined spaces. He took out his measuring tape. 14 inches across. He noted it and moved on. When the team came back through that same passage on the way out, 6 hours later, Marcus measured it again. 11 inches, 3 inches narrower than on the way in. He stood there in the dark for a long moment. Then he wrote one sentence in his journal, which doesn't read like a scientific observation at all. It knows we're here. The breathing started around hour 4. Not someone in the team breathing, not the echo of their own breath off the walls, though that was already happening, and that alone was enough to unsettle you. In certain chambers, the team's breath returned to them slightly out of sync, not reversed, not distorted, just delayed by a half-second too long, as if something was listening before sending it back. But what Marcus described at hour 4 was different. A sound, low, barely perceptible, coming from the rock itself, not from any passage, not from a wind current, not from any identifiable source. A deep, slow rhythm. In, out. In, out. One of his team members, a man named Dale, started laughing. The way people laugh when they're covering something up. "Okay, that's enough for me," he said. He wasn't joking. Marcus stayed calm. He recorded it. He tried to locate the source. He pressed his ear against 3 separate wall sections before concluding that the sound wasn't traveling through the rock. It was coming from it. By this point, the team had stopped talking much. That happens underground sometimes. The weight of the dark, the sense of smallness. But this felt different. This felt less like awe and more like the particular silence of being in a room with something that hasn't decided what it's going to do yet. Because the thing Marcus hadn't mentioned yet, the thing he saved for the very last entry of the day, was the smell. Caves smell like minerals, like wet stone, like the particular cold nothing scent of places that haven't seen sunlight in 1,000 years. That smell is consistent, stable, one of the constants of the underground world that experienced cavers actually find comforting, familiar, like the smell of old books. Somewhere around the 5th hour, the smell changed. Marcus described it with a single word, then crossed it out, then wrote it again. Organic. Not rot, not bacteria, not the sulfur smell that sometimes comes from certain mineral deposits. Something warmer than that. Something closer to the smell of breath, of the inside of a living body, of the particular warm, close air you get in the throat of an animal. Claire stopped again at this point. She stood very still. Then she said, and Marcus quoted this verbatim because he said he couldn't get the phrasing right himself, "It stopped feeling like we were inside a cave about an hour ago. I don't know what this feels like now, but it's not a cave." Nobody argued with her. They got out, all 4 of them, safely, without incident. No injuries, no cave-ins, no physical danger in the conventional sense. But something happened to Marcus Hale on the drive home that night. Something he wrote about in his journal 2 days later, when he finally had the words for it. He said he kept reaching for the rational explanation. Geothermal activity, perceptual distortion, the psychological effects of an oxygen-depleted environment, mass suggestion, 4 people feeding off each other's anxiety until ordinary details became extraordinary ones. He reached for all of it, and none of it quite fit. Because of the 3 inches. That passage had been 14 inches wide. He'd measured it. It was 11 inches on the way out. Rock does not compress in 6 hours. It does not respond to the presence of 4 warm bodies the way a living thing might respond to something small moving through it. And Marcus Hale, the systems engineer, the methodical man, the person who had spent 12 years underground without once believing in anything he couldn't measure, Marcus wrote the following in his final journal entry from that trip. The cave did not feel like a place we were exploring. It felt like a place that was deciding whether to keep us. He never went back to that cave. None of them did. Claire left the sport entirely within the year. Dale still caves, but refuses to discuss that trip. According to mutual friends, he changes the subject so fast it's almost frightening. The fourth team member, a quiet man named Ray who barely appears in the journal, moved away from the area entirely. Marcus kept caving, but his journal entries changed after that. More detailed, more cautious. And every single time he notes the temperature of a cave wall, he ends the entry with the same 3 words, added in what looks like different ink, as though it was written after. Still just rock. Like he's reminding himself. Like the reminder doesn't always work. There's a theory in geobiology, a real one, studied by actual researchers, about the potential for microbial life to exist inside cave rock itself. Not on the surface, inside, living in the microscopic fractures and pores of limestone, metabolizing minerals, producing heat, producing gas, slowly reshaping the stone around them over geological time. The theory is called endolithic life. It is real. It does not fully explain what Marcus's team experienced, but it means something worth sitting with for a moment. It means that the walls of a cave, the solid, silent, inert walls you press your hands against in the dark, may not be as empty as they look. There may be something living in there. Something slow, something old, something that doesn't have eyes or thoughts or intentions in any way we'd recognize, but something that is unmistakably alive. And maybe, just maybe, something that can feel the difference between a cave full of cold air and a cave full of something warm. Something that breathes. Something that moves. Something that, if you stay long enough, starts to feel like it's moving back. Nobody has been able to fully explain what happened in that cave. Marcus's measurements, Claire's words, the smell that had no business being there. None of it resolves cleanly. None of it closes. And that's the part that stays with you, isn't it? Not the jump, not the monster, but the detail that doesn't fit. The wall that got smaller. The echo that came back wrong. The moment when a place that should be empty stops feeling that way. We don't know what was in that cave. We may never know. But we do know that Marcus Hale still checks the walls, still measures twice, and still writes those 3 words every single time at the bottom of the page. Still just rock. Watching from somewhere dark and quiet tonight? Drop where you're watching from below, and if these stories stay with you, consider subscribing. There are more of them. There are always more of them. Sleep well, if you can.